Well, welcome back to continue the discussion, Genesis 27. Let's see. Genesis 27 is a chapter that often gets reduced to one thing: Jacob tricking his father to steal the blessing. And while that's certainly the center of the drama, this chapter opens up deeper spiritual and historical reflections we haven't touched on yet. Let's talk about some of them together. All right, first let's talk about, or more precisely, the loss of it, the sight, or more precisely the loss of it. Isaac is physically blind. That's how the deception works. But that detail isn't just about aging, it's symbolic. Isaac's physical blindness mirrors a kind of spiritual blindness. He's trying to bless Esau despite what God had spoken to Rebekah while the twins were still in the womb. The older will serve the younger. This raises a powerful theological question. What happens when the people of God try to preserve tradition over revelation? Isaac may be ignoring God's earlier word, possibly due to favoritism. He loves Esau. He loves Esau's wildness, his food, his masculinity, but God has chosen Jacob. So here's a reflection. Are there areas in our lives where we're clinging to something familiar, even though God is calling us towards something different, maybe even uncomfortable? This chapter reminds us when we ignore what God has spoken, we're walking blind. So let's move to something harder: blessing as irreversible. Once Isaac gives the blessing, it can't be undone. Even though Jacob got it through deception, Isaac doesn't and maybe can't take it back. This shows us how deeply serious the ancient world took words of blessing. They weren't just empty wishes. They were prophetic declarations, covenantal acts. Blessing wasn't just about who got more sheep or land. It was about calling, identity, and divine favor. And when Isaac realizes what happened, the text says he trembled violently. That wasn't just from being tricked. It was a recognition that God's will had somehow come through, even through sin. So we're confronted with a mystery. Can God's will be fulfilled even through human failure? Scripture says yes, but not without consequences. That brings us to family pain. Genesis 27 is soaked in dysfunction, favoritism, rivalry, secrets. Rebekah manipulates, Jacob deceives, Esau is devastated, Isaac is passive, and in the end, nobody's happy. Esau weeps, Jacob has to flee, Rebekah never sees him again. What starts as a scheme to secure a blessing ends in separation. And that teaches us something sobering. Even when we get what we want, if we do it the wrong way, we often lose something deeper. It also highlights that spiritual calling doesn't exempt us from emotional pain. Jacob is chosen, but he's the one also wounded. He spends years running, yearning, and wrestling, just like many of us. One more angle for this chapter sets up a powerful contrast between the two brothers, not just in character, but in a deeper spiritual posture. Esau is portrayed as impulsive, someone who sold his birthright for stew. Jacob is calculating, strategic, maybe even desperate for a blessing. And while both are flawed, it's Jacob who longs for something more, something eternal. And that matters because throughout Scripture, it's not the perfect people God uses. It's the ones who are hungry for him, even if that hunger is messy. So let's reflect on that too. What am I truly hungry for? Am I willing to seek God's blessing, His purpose for my life, even if it means letting go of how I think it should happen? Genesis 27 doesn't offer easy answers. It shows us a family full of mistakes and a God who keeps moving the story forward anyways. He works through blindness, brokenness, and betrayal, not because he approves of them, but because because his sovereignty over them. And that gives us hope. If God can work through Jacob's deception, Rebekah's manipulation, and Isaac's passivity, then he can work through our mess too. When we just have to be willing to let him lead. So, thanks again for sticking with me through this chapter. Let's keep walking through this together, chapter by chapter, and we'll be on the next chapter tomorrow. If you have any comments regarding this chapter, any insights that you have that I missed on on my deep dive or on my continuing discussion, please drop them in the comments below and let me know. And the more interaction I get, I'd love to hear what your guys' 2 cents are on some of these videos. If what more things you want to see, or what maybe some reiterations you want to see, I would love to do more. I'll probably start doing some topics as well. A topic, say like for instance on love, or a topic on faith, or or a particular topic related to culture or whatnot, and then biblically support it and use in that sense, if that's of interest to people. Let me know in the comments, and or in my EM, or just email me or something. But thank you again for staying tuned, and we will be back tomorrow.